doing the speech by Robin Williams in the movie Good Will Hunting. He's sitting out by the pond. So if I ask you about art, you'd probably give me a skinny on every art book ever written. Michelangelo. You know all about him, right? Life work, political aspirations, him and the Pope, sexual orientation, the whole works, right? But I'll bet you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. You've never actually stood there and looked up at that beautiful ceiling, seen that. If I ask you about women, you'd probably give me a syllabus about your personal favorites. You may have even been late a few times. But you can't tell me what it's like to wake up next to a woman and feel truly happy. You're a tough kid. I ask you about war, and you probably throw Shakespeare at me, right? Once more into the breach, dear friends. But you've never been near one. You've never held your best friend's head in your lap, watch him take his last gasp of breath, looking to you for help. If I ask you about love, you'd probably quote me a sonnet. But you've never actually looked at a woman and felt totally vulnerable. Know what it's like to have someone level you with her eyes, feeling like God put an angel on earth just for you. Someone who could rescue you from the depths of hell. And you wouldn't know what it's like to be her angel, to have that love for her, to be there for her forever, through anything, through cancer. And you wouldn't know about sitting, sitting up in a hospital bed for 2 months, holding her hand, because the doctors could see in your eyes that the terms visiting hours don't apply to you. Look at you. I don't see an intelligent, confident man. I see a cocky, scared kid. But you're a genius, Will. No one denies that. No one could possibly understand the depths of you. But you presume to know everything about me because you saw a painting of mine and you ripped my life apart. You're an orphan, right? You think I know the first thing about how hard your life has been, how you feel, who you are, because I've read Oliver Twist? Does that encapsulate you? Personally, I don't care about any of that, because you know what? I can't learn anything from you that I haven't read in some book. Unless you want to talk about you, who you are. And I'm fascinated. I'm in. But you don't want to do that, do you, sport? You're terrified of what you might say. It's your move, Chief.
This piece is from Grey's Anatomy during a scene where a woman put off getting surgery because she had a tumor for so long until it was too late. And it's from the episode If Tomorrow Never Comes. A couple hundred years ago, Ben Franklin shared with the world the secret to his success. Never put off till tomorrow what you can do today. This is the man who discovered electricity. You'd think we'd pay more attention to what he had to say. Now, I don't know why we put things off, but if I had to take a guess, it's because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of pain, fear of rejection, or sometimes it's just the fear of making a decision. Because what if we're wrong? What if we make a mistake that we can't undo? Whatever it is we're afraid of, one thing remains the same. That when the fear of But the pain of not doing something gets worse than the fear of doing it. It can feel like we're carrying around a giant tumor. And you thought I was speaking metaphorically. The early bird catches the worm. A stitch in time saves none. He who hesitates is lost. We can't pretend like we haven't been told. We've heard the proverbs, heard the philosophers, heard our grandparents warning us about wasting time, heard the damn poets telling us to seize the day. Still, sometimes we have to see for ourselves. We have to make our own mistakes, learn our own lessons, sweep today's possibility under tomorrow's rug until we can't anymore, until we see what Benjamin Franklin meant for ourselves. That knowing is better than wondering, that waking is better than sleeping, and even the biggest mistake, even the worst failure, beats the hell out of never trying.
This is an excerpt from Dr. Seuss's Oh, the Places You'll Go. Oh, the places you'll go, there's fun to be done, there's points to be scored, and there's games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. And will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone is something you'll be quite a lot. But on you will go though the weather be foul, on you will go though your enemies prowl. On you will go past the hack and cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers might leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far, and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know, mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix your right foot up with your left. And will you succeed? Oh yes, indeed. 98 3/4% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So be your name Bucksbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai Alley Van Allen O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.
This is a speech by Sojourner Truth given at the Women's Rights and African American Rights Pioneer, delivered at the Women's Convention in Akron, Ohio, December 1851.
Well there, children, I hear that there's so much rugged, there must be something out of a kilter. I heard twixt the Negroes from the South and a woman from the North, all here talking about their rights. Now what is this, now the white man here gonna be in a fix now pretty soon. So what is all this here they're talking about? The man over there said that women should be carried into carriages, lifted over ditches, and given the best place everywhere. Ain't nobody getting me into carriages, or lifting me over ditches, or giving me the best place everywhere. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man ever had me. And ain't I a woman? I have born 13 children and seen all of them sold off into slavery. And when I cried my mother's grief, ain't nobody but Jesus hear me. And ain't I a woman? Then there's this thing, the head. What's now they call it? That's it, honey. What's that got to do with the women's rights anyway? If my cup will hold a pint and your cup will hold a court. Wouldn't it be mean for you not to have my little half-cut measure full? Then that man in black over there, he said that woman can't have as much rights as men can't have as much rights as men, because Christ ain't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman, and man had nothing to do with that. If the first woman God made was strong enough to turn this world upside down, then these women ought to be able to turn it right side up again. And now they asking to do it, and man gon' let them. Obliged to you for listening to me. Now old Sojourner ain't got nothing more to say. Thank you.
Doing a song. It's by Kanye West and it's entitled Roses. I know it's past visiting hours. Please, can I give her these flowers? The doctor don't want to take procedures. He claimed my heart can't take the anesthesia. It'll send her body into seizure. The little thing by the hospital bed, it'll stop beeping. Hey chick, I'm at a loss for words. What do you say at this time? Remember when I was 9? Tell her everything gonna be fine, but I'd be lying. The family crying. They want her to live, and she's trying. I'm arguing like, what kind of doctor can we flying? You know the best medicine go to the people that's paid? If Magic Johnson got a cure for AIDS, and all the broke people passed away, you're telling me if my grandma was in the NBA, right now she would be okay? But since she was just a secretary, working for the church for 35 years, things supposed to stop right here? My grandfather trying to pull it together. He's strong. That's where I get my confidence from. I asked the nurse, did you do the research? She asked me, can you sign some t-shirts? Girl, is you smoking reefer? You don't see that weed here? But still, I smile. The roses come my way. Can't wait for a sunny day, and I can't wait for the clouds to break. They outside the emergency room, you can feel my heart beat, beat, beat. They say she could pass away any day. If she gonna pull through, we gonna find out soon, but right now she is sleep, sleep, sleep. My mom they said she could pass away any day. Hey chick, what do these doctors know anyway? Let me see the experts, I'm no expert, I'm just her. Cousin Kim took off for work. Plus my Aunt Shirley, Aunt Beverly, Aunt Clary, and Aunt Jean. So many aunties, we can have an auntie team. Feel like Anne Marie, it's just one thing. When they said that she made it, did you see the eyes gleam? I feel like we're at an all-time high. To get there, we fly, we run, we drive. Because with my family, we know where home is. So instead of sending flowers, we the roses.
Alright, I am doing the introduction to Beauty and the Beast, and it's by Linda Wolverton, who wrote the screenplay. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything his heart desired, the prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. But then, one winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered the prince a single rose in return for shelter from the bitter cold. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince sneered at the gift and turned the old woman away. But she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, for beauty is found within. And when he dismissed her again, the old woman's ugliness melted away to reveal a beautiful enchantress. The prince tried to apologize, but it was too late, for she had seen there was no love in his heart. And, as punishment, she transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. Ashamed of his monstrous form, the beast concealed himself inside the castle, with the magic mirror as his only window to the outside world. The rose she had offered was truly an enchanted one, which would bloom until his 21st year. If he could learn to love another and earn her love in return, by the time the last petal fell, the spell would be broken. But if not, he would be doomed to remain a beast for all time. As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope, for who could ever learn to love a beast?
I'm doing the poem If by Richmond. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thought your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat these two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
I'm doing the introduction to the movie He's Just Not That Into You. A girl will never forget the first boy she likes, even if things don't quite work out. But usually, someone is there to offer words of wisdom. And then he said, I'm made of dog poo. Honey, do you know why that boy did those things and said those things? It's because he likes you. And there it is. That's the beginning of our problem. That little boy did those terrible things because he's got a crush on you. Do you know what this means? It means that we're encouraged, no, programmed to believe that if a guy acts like a total jerk, that means he likes you. And we've all made excuses for each other. Here's the problem. He likes you too much. You're too pretty and too awesome, and he just can't handle it. That pilot so liked you. I bet he just lost your number. He's not asking you out because he's intimidated by your professional career. He's not asking you out because he's scared of your emotional maturity. Trust me, it's because he's just getting out of a serious relationship. Trust Trust me, it's because he's never had a serious relationship. I'm sure he just forgot your hut number or was eaten by a lion. Why do we say these things to each other? Is it possible that it's because we're too scared and it's too hard to say the one obvious truth that's staring everyone in the face? He's just not that into you. Next.
I'm doing Atticus Finch's defense of Tom Robinson from the movie To Kill a Mockingbird. To begin with, this case should have never come to trial. The state has not produced one iota of medical evidence that the crime Tom Robinson is charged with ever took place. It has relied instead on the testimony of two witnesses whose evidence has not only been called into serious question on cross-examination, but has been flatly contradicted by the defendant. Now, there is circumstantial evidence to indicate that Maya Ewell was beaten savagely by someone who led almost exclusively with his left hand. And now, Tom Robinson sits before you, having taken the oath with the one good hand he possesses, his right. I have nothing but pity in my heart for the chief witness of the state. She has merely broken a rigid and time-honored code of our society, a code so severe that whoever breaks it is hounded from our midst as unfit to live with. She must destroy the evidence of her offense. But what was the evidence of her offense? Tom Robinson, a human being. She must put Tom Robinson away from her. Tom Robinson was to her a daily reminder of what she did. And what did she do? She tempted a Negro. She was white, and she tempted a Negro. She did something that in our society is unspeakable. She kissed a black man. Not an old uncle, but a strong, young Negro man. No code mattered to her before she broke it, but it came crashing down on her afterwards. The witnesses for the state, with the exception of the sheriff of Lincoln County, have presented themselves to you gentlemen, to this court, in the cynical confidence that their testimony would not be doubted. Confident that you gentlemen would go along with them on the assumption, the evil assumption, that all Negroes lie. All Negroes are basically immoral beings. All Negro men are not to be trusted around our women. An assumption one associates with minds of their caliber, and which is in itself, gentlemen, a lie, which I do not need to point out to you. And so, a quiet, humble, respectable Negro who has had the unmitigated temerity to feel sorry for a white woman has had to put his word up against two white people's. The defendant is not guilty, but someone in this courtroom is. Now, gentlemen, in this country, our courts are the great levelers. In our courts, all men are created equal. I am no idealist to believe firmly in the integrity of our courts and our jury system. That's no ideal to me. That's a living, working reality. In the name of God, do your duty. In the name of God, believe Tom Robinson.
I'm doing an excerpt from a separate piece by John Knowles. We followed our gigantic shadows across campus, and Phineas began talking in wild French to give me a little extra practice. I said nothing, my mind exploring the new dimensions of isolation around me. Any fear I had had of the tree was nothing beside this. It wasn't my neck, but my understanding which was menaced. He had never been jealous of me for a second. Now I knew that there never was, and never could have been, any rivalry between us. I was not of the same quality as he. I couldn't stand this. We reached the others loitering around the base of the tree, and Phineas began exuberantly to throw off his clothes, delighted by the fading glow of the day, the challenge of the tree, the competitive tension of all of us. He lived and thrived in such moments. "Let's go, you and me," he called. A new idea struck him. "We'll go together, a double jump. Neat, eh?" None of this mattered now. I would have listlessly agreed to anything. He started up the wooden rungs, and I began climbing behind, up to the limb high over the bank. Phineas ventured a little way along it, holding onto a thin, nearby branch for support. "Come out a little way," he called, "and then we'll jump side by side." The countryside was striking from here, a deep green sweep of playing fields and bordering shrubbery, and the school stadium, white and miniature looking across the river. From behind us, the last long rays of light played across campus, accenting every slight undulation of the land, emphasizing the separateness of each bush. Holding firmly to the trunk, I took a step toward him, and then my knees bent, and I jounced the limb. Finney, his balance gone, swung his head around to look at me for an instant with extreme interest, and then he tumbled sideways, broke through the little branches below, and hit the bank with a sickening, unnatural thud. It was the first clumsy, physical action I had ever seen him make. With unthinking sureness, I moved out on the limb and jumped into the river, every trace of my fear of this forgotten.
I'm doing an excerpt from Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. I'm so sorry for people who live in lands where there are no Mayflowers, said Anne. Diana says perhaps they have something better, but there couldn't be anything better than Mayflowers. Could there, Marilla? And Diana says if they don't know what they're like, then they don't miss them. But I think that's the saddest thing of all. I think it would be tragic, Marilla, not to know what Mayflowers are like and not to miss them. Do you know what I think Mayflowers are, Marilla? I think they must be the souls of the flowers that died last summer, and this is their heaven. But we had a splendid time today, Marilla. We had our lunch down in a big mossy hollow by an old well. Such a romantic spot. Charlie Sloane dared Artie Gillis to jump over it, and Artie did because he wouldn't take a dare. Nobody would in school. It's very fashionable to dare. Mr. Phillips gave all the Mayflowers he found to Prissy Andrews, and I heard him to say, "Sweets to the sweet." He got that out of a book, I know, but it shows he has some imagination. I was offered some Mayflowers too, but I rejected them in scorn. I can't tell you the person's name because I vowed never to let it cross my lips. After the Mayflowers came the violets, and Violet Vale was empurpled with them. Anne walked through it on her way to school with reverent steps and worshipping eyes, as if she trod on holy ground. Somehow, she told Diana, when I'm going through here, I don't really care whether anybody gets ahead of me in class or not. But when I'm up in school, it's all different, and I care as much as ever. There's such a lot of different Annes in me. I sometimes think that's why I'm such a troublesome person. If I was just the one Anne, it would be ever so much more comfortable. But then, it wouldn't be half so interesting.
I'm reciting 1 Corinthians 13 from the New International Version. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when perfection comes, the imperfect disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. Now we see but a poor reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Now, these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
I'm doing the last lecture by Randy Pausch, and the chapter is called Don't Complain, Just Work Harder. Too many people go through their life complaining. I've always believed that if you took 1/10 of the energy that you spend complaining and applied it to actually solving the problem, then you'd be surprised how far you can get. I've known some great non-complainers in my lifetime. One was Sandy Blatt, my landlord during graduate school. When he was a young man, a truck backed into him while he was unloading boxes into the cellar of the building. He toppled down the stairs and into the cellar. I asked, "How far was the fall?" His answer was simple: far enough. He ended up as a quadriplegic for the rest of his life. Sandy was a phenomenal athlete, and at the time of the accident, he was engaged to be married. He didn't want to be a burden to his fiancée, so he told her, "You didn't sign up for this. I'll understand if you leave. You can leave in peace." And she did. At the time that I met Sandy, he was in his 30s. He just wowed me with his attitude. He had this incredible non-whining about him. Whenever he talked about his disease, he did so matter-of-factly. "Hey Randy, will you hand me that blanket?" I handed him the blanket, and that was that. He explained to me that temperature changes are harder for quadriplegics because they can't shiver. People like Sandy Blatt are the best of role models. The lesson in his story is this: complaining doesn't work as a strategy. We all have finite time and energy. Any time we spend whining doesn't help us achieve our goals, and it won't make us happier.
Doing the pre-war speech from Shakespeare's Henry V. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the snooze, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard, favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow o'erwhelm it as fearfully as doth a galled rock o'erhang and jutty his confounded base, swilled with the wild and wasteful ocean. Now, set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fet from fathers of war-proof. Fathers that, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts, from morn till even, fought and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeomen, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble luster in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George.
Doing an excerpt from My Cousin Vinny, so mixing it up a bit. What's the matter with you? I don't know. You acting like you're nervous or something. Well, yeah, I am. What are you nervous about? I'm the one who's under the gun here. Trial starts tomorrow. You want to know what I'm nervous about? I'll tell you what I'm nervous about. I'm in the dark here with all this legal crap. I got no idea what's going on. All I know is you're screwing up and I can't help. And? Oh wait, you left me a little camera, didn't you? Oh, Vinny! I don't I'm watching you go down in flames and you're bringing me with you and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, I hate to bring it up because I know you got a lot of pressure on you already, but we agreed to get married after you won your first case. Meanwhile, 10 years later, my niece, the daughter of my sister, is getting married. My biological clock is ticking like this, and the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married. Lisa, I don't need this. I swear to God, I do not need this right now. I got a judge that's just aching to throw me in jail. An idiot that wants to fight me for $200. Slaughtered pigs, giant loud whistles. I ain't slept in 5 days. I got no money, a dress code problem, and a little murder case which, in the balance, happens to hold the lives of 2 innocent kids. Not to mention your biological clock, my career, your life, our marriage. And let me see, is there anything else we can pile on? Is there any more shit we can pile on to the top of the outcome of this case? Is it possible? Maybe it was a bad time to bring it up.
I'm doing a poem from 1951. It's a huge theme from English Week. The instructor said, Go home and write a page tonight. And let that page come out of you, then it will be true. I wrote it was that simple. I'm 22, color, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then Durham, then here to this college on the hill above Harlem. I'm the only color student in my class. The steps from the hill lead down into Harlem, through a park, then I come to St. Nicholas, 8th Avenue, 7th, and I come to the Y, the Harlem Branch Y, where I take the elevator, sit down, and write this page. It is not easy to know what's true for you and me at 22, my age. But I guess I am what I feel, what I see, what I hear. Harlem, I hear you. I hear you. You hear me. You, me, talk on this page. I hear New York too. Me? Who? Well, I like to eat, sleep, drink, and be in love. I like to work, learn, read, and understand life. I like a Christmas present, or records, or Pepsi, Bob, or Bash. Well, being color, I guess, does not make me not like what other folks from other race like. So, will this page that I write be color? Being me will not be white, but it will be a part of you, instructor. You're white, yet a part of me, as I'm a part of you. That's American. Sometimes, perhaps, you don't want to be a part of me, nor I often want to be a part of you. But we are. Although you're much older, white, and somewhat more free. This is my paper for English B.
I'm doing the eulogy scene from 4 Weddings and a Funeral. It was written by Richard Curtis and recited by John Hannah. Gareth used to prefer funerals to weddings. He said it was easier to get enthusiastic about a ceremony one had an outside chance of eventually being involved in. In order to prepare this speech, I rang a few people to see how Gareth was regarded by those who met him. Fat seems to be a word most people connected him with. Terribly rude also rang a lot of bells. So very fat and very rude seems to have been his stranger's viewpoint. On the other hand, some of you have been kind enough to ring me to tell me that you loved him, which I know he'd be thrilled to hear. You remember his fabulous hospitality, his strange experimental cooking. The recipe for duck a la banana fortunately goes with him to his grave. Most of all, you remember his enormous capacity for joy. When joyful for highly vocal drunkenness. But joyful is how I hope you'll remember him. Not stuck in a box in a church. Pick out your favorite of his waistcoats and remember him that way. The most splendid, replete, big-hearted, weak-hearted, as it turned out. And jolly bugger most of us had ever met. As for me, you may wonder what I'll think of him, how I'll remember him. Unfortunately, there I don't have the words. Perhaps you'll forgive me if I turn to another jolly bugger, W.A. Jordan. This is what I would have wanted to say. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with the juicy bone. Silence the pianos, and with a muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let airplanes circle, moaning overhead, scribbling in the sky, the message, he is dead. Put crepe bows round the necks of public doves. Let traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east, my west, my working week, my Sunday rest. My noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon, dismantle the sun. Pour out the ocean, sweep up the wood. I thought, sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good. Thank you.
I will be doing an original piece by Brian Schaefer. I used to hate black coffee, but let's face it, black coffee's man. Do you think Clint Eastwood ever took 2 sugars and a cream? Of course not. Clint Eastwood was a man, and the girls love manliness. Once, at a Denny's with some of my buddies, I encountered a waitress who would change me. Jenny was her name. Such a lovely girl. She was one of those girls that every guy dreams of. You know, a pretty face framed by blonde curls. When she came over to my table and asked in her cute southern drawl what I wanted, I knew I had to show off my manliness. Or at least act the part. I ordered a lumberjack slam, extra ham, a big piece of carrot cake, and of course the clincher, black coffee. Unimpressed with this manliest of breakfast, which would have wowed most waitresses, she tried to break me by bringing more and more coffee. Oh, I downed my breakfast before the rest of my friends finished their 3 pancakes, mind you. But that coffee, I'd come too far to chicken out. I couldn't back down now. She brought the check and with that topped me off. My 11th cup. I tried to manage it down, but I've been on my last leg for far too long. Light bulb. Once no one was looking, I dumped my coffee into my best friend's cup, mock sipped it, slammed it down, and strode to the door, victorious. I take my coffee black for the same reason guys do anything, to impress women.